Post your location and local time below, then settle in. He's got a wild backyard moment to walk you through, and yes, the pool water is as cold as the looks he's about to get. He finishes his morning run, steam still lifting off his shoulders, when the side gate ticks back and forth like a lazy metronome and laughter rolls over the fence, the breezy kind that says sunscreen, glass stemware, and zero permission. His boots crunch the gravel. He rounds the corner and his pool is occupied like a resort, with a very confused concierge, 3 wide-brim hats, a folding table sagging under half-empty bottles, and Karen Lawson floating at center frame with Rosé, the HOA queen crowned by pool noodles. He keeps his voice calm. Calm is heavier than loud, and asks what on earth they think they're doing. He starts recording immediately, best practice, not pettiness, framing wristbands, license plates, the leaning tower of plastic cups. Because evidence ages like milk if you leave it in the sun, and a pool party is basically a UV lamp. Karen calls it shared recreational space, which is adorable if you ignore property law and basic maps. And historians still argue whether neighborly entitlement peaked with lawn flamingos or with next-door threads. But this feels like a fresh chapter, the kind that smells like sunscreen and bad ideas. He tells them they're trespassing, keeps the tone steady, and walks inside 911 on speaker fax. Only, no theatrics. Then the den opens to the tall safe, and he shoulders the 12-gauge, the right way, muzzle down, safety on the action racks, with that unmistakable clack. That's basically America's doorbell. He doesn't point, doesn't posture, just presence. And presence is plenty. You have 10 seconds to leave or explain it to police, he says, which does more cardio for them than his morning run just did for him. Somewhere, a pop song keeps chirping like a confused smoke alarm. The pool drains of guests like a bad DJ. Hit play, tote bags, hop, flip-flop, slap. And Karen does the slow walk exit with a promise. He'll regret talking to neighbors like this. Rich words from an RSVP that reads, break in and bring wine. He keeps the camera rolling until the gate clicks shut and the engines fade. Then he relocks the latch and puts the shotgun back to bed. Tools belong in safes, not on victory laps. Quick side note, if pool noodles were legal arguments, hers would still sink. Inside, he uploads the clips to the cloud timestamps, everything, and starts a log and block letters. Time of entry 911, call position of the firearm. Quotes word for word, like a chef. Labeling prep before a dinner rush, out by the deck. He photographs wine rings, wet footprints, chair dents, and souvenir alert. A single paper wristband that goes into a zip bag, like a strange museum exhibit. Quirky tidbit of the day. Ancient Egyptians once tried crocodile dung sunscreen, which is only slightly less silly than declaring someone else's backyard a community pool. He labels the bag, backs up the files, and breathes through the quiet. By morning, a flyer appears on his mailbox. Armed homeowner threatens women at pool. Careful typography, courageous absence of context, and the sidewalk widens around him, the way puddles do around new sneakers. He isn't rattled, just methodical, because rumors travel faster than Wi-Fi in a library. So he trusts the antidote he can hold in his hands. Clean video, clean notes, and a cleaner conscience. He dials his attorney, keeps it to 90 seconds, and sends the drive link. No speeches, no heroics. Just a timeline that wears a wristwatch and a gate that now has an even better lock. He steps out of the detective's office feeling like fresh paper, square uncrumpled, ready for ink, and the cruiser outside keeps that low, courteous purr. Sirens do when they're choosing manners over drama. The clip has done its job. Rewind, pause, hands shown. Muzzle down a sequence a jury could eat with a spoon. Lauren treats chaos like laundry day, folds it into neat stacks. Fires a cease and desist to the pool, trio preservation letters to the HOA and their property manager, and a request to freeze the neighborhood rumor mill before it multiplies like bunnies with Wi-Fi. It's not vengeance, it's labeling Tupperware. Only the leftovers are lies. By sunset, a neighbor's tip lands like a doorbell in a quiet house. A string of screenshots from the social committee chat called Pool Day wristband emojis his address in bold, and the strategy typed like a menu special. If he fusses, we call about a gun announcing you'll cheat on an open book test. Is a fascinating study technique. He forwards it to Lauren, who pounces like a librarian on a speakerphone. The TRO motion clicks together under her hands. Short declaratives attached exhibits and a prayer for service faster than porch gossip. Quirky tidbit. Many event wristbands fluoresce under blacklight. Great for catching fakes and terrible for hiding bad ideas. Historians still argue whether the first social network was the village well or the church steps. Either way, the comment section has been around since sandals. Sunday arrives to test the paperwork. A white rental truck noses up with chairs and a canopy, the driver wearing the precise smile of someone who has already been paid 2 patrol cars. Ghost in behind him. Doors thunk soft. He hosts the party of no time stamp, prominent porch camera. Steady voice, level enough to balance a nickel. And the truck backs out like a Roomba, meeting a staircase. Karen appears in sunglasses large enough to file taxes. Starts a speech about community spirit and unused space. A deputy interrupts with the newly signed order and a tone usually reserved for enthusiastic uncles at baseball games. She pivots to negotiation, tries to plant a foot over the line. The officer's hand lifts once. Not threatening, just the punctuation of please step back. She steps back. The yard hums like a tidy machine. Gates ping phones, patio speakers chirp a warning that sounds like a toaster learning to whistle. A borrowed drone hovers at 40 feet like a concerned wasp. With a law degree, guests wander up, see uniforms, and suddenly discover brunch is portable. One records a vertical clip because the internet loves rectangles that refuse to explain themselves. Callback time. Remember that crocodile dung sunscreen? This pastel flyer ages worse. In daylight, the fine print disclaimer might as well read, bring your own attorney. He keeps narration off and coffee on. Let's process. Do what volume never could. Midweek, the board's mask starts to slip. One member DMs a sorry you got dragged note. Another quietly asks Lauren how to send documents without ruining my summer seasonal and subpoena-friendly. The HOA accountant voice, like a popcorn kernel about to pop, confirms invoices for wristbands printing, and a community coordinator deposit each bearing Karen's signature, like tiny marching orders. Highlighter stripes bloom across duplicates until the packet looks like a tropical fish. Historians still argue whether incompetence or arrogance sinks more ships. But this fleet lists on both sides. The TRO holds deputies post on the next announced pool day. Sirens nap, cameras blink, and the plan deflates with the gentle hiss of a birthday balloon. Not a finale. Not yet, just the first hairline crack running through a plastic crown. The criminal case lands first, not with fireworks, but with paperwork that stacks like bricks. Audio of her plan to call about a gun, body cams of deputies asking her to step back. Invoices signed like autographs on bad decisions. The jury listens the way people do when the ending is baking itself in the middle, and when the verdicts arrive, false report, trespass, misuse of funds. He doesn't cheer. He just exhales. Because relief isn't loud. It's the opposite of sirens. The judge adds a sentence that feels less like thunder and more like weather finally changing. The insurer reads the room and pulls coverage, which is corporate, for you're on your own, and the board, suddenly allergic to splash zones, votes her out before the ink can smudge. Lauren moves the civil suit as if it has wheels, summary judgment with exhibits that read like a docuseries, screenshots, flyers, TRO violations, the vertical videos, nobody explains, restitution fees, and the tab for his reinforced gates. The HOA's new council tries to settle by offering landscaping, which is adorable. In the same way crocodile dung sunscreen was innovative. He thanks them and declines clean boundary, clean yard, clean hands, quirky tidbit. While they tally costs, court stenographers routinely hit 225 words per minute using corded phonetics, which means they could capture an entire HOA meeting in the time it takes. A committee to argue about mailbox paint. Historians still argue whether sunlight or shame collapses petty empires faster. But discovery is basically both with footnotes. The neighborhood goes through stages: denial, DM audit. 2 directors resign with letters so careful they might as well be origami. A former board member testifies about the annexation plan drawn on a map like a child circling toy aisles. The accountant flips like a pancake that realizes the pan is a subpoena. The insurer's denial letter becomes the civic equivalent of that shotgun clack, America's doorbell, but for budgets quiet. Final understood callbacks. Multiply. The wristbands glow under scrutiny, the way they should have glowed under blacklight. The siren that once chirped like a toaster now naps because gates don't open themselves anymore. He stands by the water at dusk, listening to the filter whisper, and the waterfall count time. And it occurs to him the whole saga is just boundaries made audible. The civil judgment posts Lean's file like neat soldiers. A new board mails a printed apology on heavy paper that doesn't crinkle when folded. They repeal the shared space fantasy and promise an audit that counts every paperclip. He accepts the apology, not the landscaping, and the quiet returns. The way small streams do, unflashy, steady, inevitable. He keeps the cameras, keeps the logbook, keeps the habit of backing up truth before the rumor mill wakes. Not fearful, just practice like a pilot who still runs checklists. Even on sunny days, historians still argue whether neighborhoods heal from the edges in or the center out. He figures it's both fences that say please don't and porches that say hi, come talk. Either way, the water holds its line, and so does he. So now the backyard breathes again, the hum of the filter and the distant cicadas threading the evening like a careful seam, and he lets the light stretch long across the coping stones, gold spreading into blue into the mild kind of dark that doesn't hurry anybody. The gate latch rests flat and sure the way a sentence does when it finally finds its period, and even the cameras seem gentler. Tiny green stars in their corners blinking like they're sleepy, not watchful. He moves slower on purpose, hands around a mug that warms his fingers, eyes tracing the simple geometry of the deck. He knows by heart, seeing how the shadows keep their appointments, how the trees on the fence line trade secrets with the breeze, and how the water remembers stillness when no one asks it to be anything else. The house behind him settles with its familiar wood knock, the soft breath of ducks, the faint click of a thermostat, deciding there's nothing urgent to do tonight. If a car passes on the street, it passes like weather here, gone unimportant. And the neighborhood lately fond of opinions grows quiet enough to hear its own dog sigh. The stories that were shouted shrink to a manageable size like jackets hung on proper hooks, not thrown over chairs. And the rules that matter ask respect. The fence stand up straight without needing to be loud about it, as if dignity had learned to walk the perimeter and hum. He thinks about doorbells and clacks and wristbands that never glowed, and how the simplest evidence is often the kind you can feel under your palm. A lock that closes a note, written clean. A boundary that stays where it belongs. And then he lets all of it drift like steam off a morning cup, unneeded for sleep, unneeded for tomorrow. The pool whispers to the stones keep their cool. The night presses gently at the edges, and the last sound is just a small, contented ripple, folding itself back into quiet.